What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Burndown YouTube channel. We are still on the Malibu engine once again. So if you clicked on this video because you want to see how to do this, or you're just curious, to give you a recap on this thing, I roached the motor at Rocky Mountain Race Week, and I basically had low oil pressure, and I didn't spin bearings, but I basically chewed up the rods, and then the main's pretty good. So I got all brand new bearings, had the crank polished and straightened, and then I looked at the cam bearings, and they look good to my amateur eyeballs. So I put it all back together, and then we had a low oil pressure issue, and I chased everything, and now here we are doing reassembly. So I put brand new cam bearings in it, and then I actually have the used set of bearings that I had in the motor when I ran it. I ran it a couple times, I drove it around a little bit. I mean, I really eyeballed the oil pressure. It never really dropped down, it just wasn't getting high enough, so it doesn't facilitate any real RPM. When you're in a drag race situation, if you're not making any RPM, you're not going very fast. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna show you a trick, and I'm sure the comment section will be set on fire, and I'm gonna be called all kinds of things, but that'll be fun. I'm gonna share a story with you real quick of when I went to the machine shop and why I'm gonna do the thing that I'm gonna do to these. And then what we're gonna do, you and I are gonna plastic gauge the bearings just to double check, because I'm already apart. If I had an issue, I could have the crank turn and get an oversized bearing versus just slapping it together, doing one of these, and then if we had the same issue, I'm basically out of luck, out of time. So let's get to the quick story. So before we get into this, I took all this stuff to the machine shop, and I'm cheap. I'm a DIY guy, not a pro by any stretch. So if you're a high-end machine shop, you're a guy that really knows his stuff, you should probably flip the video now because you're gonna cringe. But I use a little dude out in LA, and he is an old school, really old little guy. He's one of like the last of the Mohicans kind of deal, because it seems like every machine shop is just shutting down left and right. And he's still in business, and he's still plugging along, and he does a lot of work for other places and whatnot. But a fun fact is, I was asking him on these bearings. So these, these are my mains, and to me, it's like barely taking the first coating. I still have some of the coating and stuff on there, and then on the top side, because those are the bottom side, the top side, I mean, these ones I wouldn't even question. I mean, those are fine. But I was asking about these ones because I'm like, is this okay? Is this good? Could this be a problem with the oiling? Right? So the guy looks at me, and it was raining, of all things, in California, and he had the door kind of shut, and he starts looking around. He looks on the ground, there was a box. It's like one of these boxes. I think it might even been a cam bearing box or something. And he reaches down, it's all wet from it raining, and he rips the lid off, right? And then he goes over and he wipes one of the bearings off in the block, and then he rubs it with the cardboard, and he goes, look, see, it's good. Just get this and rub them, and it's good. And I laughed because I'm like, in a million years, any machine shop you go to, they're not gonna pick up a box off the ground that's been rained on and then rub it on your used main bearings and go, yeah, they're good, see? So, yeah, you guessed it. We are going to take this box, rip the lid off of it, and we're gonna rub all of our main bearings that are used before we get started. Then we'll wipe it all down. And essentially, if you're wondering and you think that that's the dumbest thing you ever heard, what it's doing is this, any paper, like even white paper, but even like this cardboard right here, you can kind of see it's fibrous. It's actually a sandpaper. And I knew what he was doing. He didn't explain it, but as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, I know what you're doing. But it would be like, essentially like kind of like an emery cloth, kind of polishing it out. And you're just trying to smooth out any little deal that's there. But for the most part, what you're looking for, if the bearings are bad, is these are a tri-metal bearing, so you're getting down through those coatings. So like I said, this still has the first coating on it. It's barely even getting into like the next one. So we're just gonna smooth stuff out by basically polishing it with a piece of cardboard. But I think it's fun, and it's funny to do it with this, and it'll make me laugh because we're gonna rub all of our main bearings with cardboard. Then if it fails, you can be like, well, don't rub your main bearings with cardboard, dude, you're an idiot. So I wiped all these down with acetone. We cleaned everything real good. We're gonna give him a little loving, a little rub. I'm gonna talk to him and say nice things to all these. We'll get through with all these, and then all of these, and then we'll throw down some plastic gauge, and on it, I'll just pick 2 main caps. We'll probably pick like one on either end, maybe the 2 middles or something, Maybe we'll do this guy and this guy. And we'll torque it down dry with nothing in it just to see what the measurement is on it. If it checks out, it should be between 1 to 2.5 thousandths is what I was told. So if we look good there, we will clean everything, wipe it down again, lube it all up, and then we will put all the studs and everything in and get this thing buttoned up and locked down. So without further ado, let's rub some cardboard on used bearings. I'm excited. So I've rubbed all my bearings with cardboard. And again, if there's something, if it's grabbing your nail, it's dug in too far. You know, for the most part, it's probably not good. But if you can see it, but it still feels smooth, but it's not really smooth, this is just a way to help smooth it out. And you can see, man, I mean, I use a couple different pieces and, you know, and make sure it's really clean before you take this to it, because if there is crap on there, you don't want to grind it into the bearing because you're going to do more harm than good. So clean them really nice, and then you can go ahead and get any little imperfection. But they look like they have some action, but now after doing that, I mean, they are smooth as a baby's behind. So we did these and these guys. So what we're gonna do now is I'll take the crank out, and then we're gonna pick which mains we're gonna do. I'm gonna wipe it all down real good, and then we're gonna set it in here. So don't set it in here and start willy-nilly, you know, moving it around. We're gonna put it in there without any lube, so we can't really spin it. But what we want to do is clamp a couple main caps onto it and then check the plastic gauge. So we'll do that real quick, and then we'll disassemble it if that looks good, and we'll lube all these guys up, and then we'll drive it on home. It's got a little piece of plastic gauge. So what this is like a little string, looks like a little piece of hair. And you basically lay it over the journal, and then you smash it by clamping this down over it, and then it spreads out depending on what your clearance is. And then you take this little piece and you put it against it to measure it. So let me finish this up. I'll show you the little piece that we put in here. We'll put one here and then one here. We'll slide the caps over, torque it down. And again, we're not playing with this thing because we don't really have any real lube in here. But we'll put it down. We're looking to smash this, and then we can put this against it and measure, and it should give us our clearance and see if our mains are good to go. All right, so I cut this down so it's easier to see, but the width on that is your measurement. So you can see we made a green blob here, and if you put this next to it, it's going to show you kind of where you're at. So that's somewhere around the 2 mark. It looks like it gets a little fatter, but right here at the point it's about a 2. The dude back here, she's a little thin, so it's not quite a 3. I'm not going to call it a 3, but I would say it's hard to get the camera and everything with a stud. But yeah, anyway, let's see if I can hold you down. So there you go. It's just about a 2. So maybe a little looser than a 2, but it's not this white stripe. It's not a 3. So we're calling that 2, maybe like a 2.5, which is in spec. This guy is a solid, you know, solid 2, if not a little better. Man, I'm just having all kinds of problems. Let's try from this side. There we go. Yeah, so that's, you know, pretty solid. And then this boy, let's see, oh, come on. Yeah, we're damn near there with a 2. I'm gonna call it a 2, a generous 2. But I think that is good enough for the girls I go with, boys. So we're gonna call it good. I'll call it back from like a 2.5. So I would say that that's pretty much as wide as she can get. We're gonna run a 1040 anyway. So what I'll do now is I'm gonna wipe everything, clean all the studs, pull the crank back out, because remember we don't have lube on the bottom side, And then we're going to assemble this whole dog and call it a victory. So those should be good. And I guess you could probably do the same plastic edge thing on your rods. I would imagine it works the same. So anyway, today's video is about the crank. That's what we're gonna do. I feel good about it. I feel good about the cam bearings. So we are almost home, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully we can slap this thing back together and actually see some oil pressure. I'll throw it together, give you guys a look. We'll wrap this video. That should be that. Everything is in. I even read the instructions and it said to put a little dab of silicone on the backside of these little guys, which I've never done, but I figured, you know, trying to set a good example these days. Everything's torqued down. Let's see, boys. Spin in 3, 2, 1. Oh, look at that. So nice. So nice. Look at that. I can hear it making power. Boom, 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 boom. All right, if you guys been following along on the boom build, thank you very much for watching the video. You probably don't really care about this other than the fact that I'm getting after it because we gotta get this thing put together. We're going to LS Fest West 2022, and we need to go and try to go fast. I'm probably gonna bring an untested car. Let's just be honest. That's usually my style, but as long as we can make some hits down the drag strip, that's what the drag strip's there for, some testing, right? We'll race our buddies, we'll have a good time. You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share. Till next time, I'm out.